Hey guys, I just uploaded part 1 of my locations in the Walking Dead universe series, so now it's time for part 2. I gave my introduction to this series in part 1, so I'm not going to say everything I said the first time, but for new viewers, I will say this. I love most of this show a lot, and in these videos, I'm not delving into the story or its characters. I strictly want to look at the environment around them. I believe the world surrounding our survivors is essential in setting the tone of this show. The set design is crucial in enveloping you into the world they're living in, and this show uses its environment better than any I've ever seen. I feel like that's a huge reason it's had such longevity with me. I enjoy the characters so much and some of the story, of course, but after so many years of watching it, I've just found new interest in the show outside of the story and its characters. That's why I make such niche videos on this show. I just love seeing more of the wider world in the apocalypse, as I'm sure some of you do. So if that kind of thing interests you, then I'm sure you'll enjoy this and my previous video. Just a reminder, this video's locations are randomized from different shows, just so we can have some fun. I think I've talked enough, so without any further ado, let's get started. Our first location appears in such a small and strange scene that I wasn't sure if I wanted to mention it or not, but I do find it interesting, so here we are. While on the way to rescue Glenn and Maggie from Woodbury, Rick, Daryl, and Michonne and Oscar seek shelter inside an abandoned cabin.
In there, come on!
When they get inside, they're met with the smell of a dead dog in the middle of the floor.
This Lassie went home.
When they explore more of this place, they surprise a scared and delusional hermit who seems completely oblivious to the zombie apocalypse and threatens to call the police.
I'll call the cops!
I am a cop. Now, I need you to lower the gun.
Rick tries to calm him before attempting to take his gun, but the hermit screams, attracting the walkers outside.
I'll kill you! Let go of me! Shut up!
He attempts to run outside, so Michonne is forced to kill him.
Don't open that door!
Then Rick uses his body to distract and feed the walkers while everyone runs out the back door. There's just so many questions here that need answering. Like, does he not know the world has ended? Does he know something bad happened and that's why he moved out here? If so, why did he threaten to call the cops? And why does he have a dead dog in the middle of the floor? Also, why didn't he get up when they opened the door? Maybe he's just a heavy sleeper or something. It's just so crazy this happened and no one has ever explained it. Either he's crazy or he doesn't know the world has ended. That concept is just so strange because we never see it again. This random encounter is the only example. I love how weird this is and it's kind of fascinating, so that's why I decided to include it.
Don't open that door!
This next location is a favorite for me, and I've wanted to talk about it for so long, so we're finally here. In season 5 of Fear the Walking Dead, we see Charlie find a fenced compound for a Jewish synagogue. She meets a man who lives here, and he introduces himself as Rabbi Jacob Kessner. He keeps up tradition here just as he did pre-apocalypse by conducting empty services and ceremonies. We find out later that he has a secret when we see him go to the building next door. It's full of walkers, and he keeps it boarded up to keep them inside. He later tells Charlie that when the outbreak started, his congregation came here for help. Together they put up fences and gathered food and water, but after a few weeks, they started to run low on supplies. He left to find some, but when he came back, they were all turned. Later, during the climax of the episode, he reveals he doesn't believe in God anymore.
I should never have told you that.
Why?
Because I don't believe it.
I don't understand.
I don't believe in God. I haven't in a long time.
And when he left to find supplies, he actually left to try to rediscover his faith, but he failed.
When I left the synagogue, it wasn't to get supplies, like I said. It was because I'd already started to lose faith. I wandered around for weeks on my own, looking for something to change my mind. I didn't find it.
After wandering around for weeks, he returned to find his congregation already turned and locked inside that building. He says,
They were already dead, already locked inside that building. Whatever happened to them while I was gone, It wasn't pleasant.
Later, they end up sacrificing the whole compound by luring the walkers into the sanctuary. I love this set piece and location a lot. It's unique and the story here is super compelling. Rabbi Kessner is also such an interesting character, and his story is the kind of thing I enjoy seeing. He's a great subversion to what we saw when we met Gabriel, and I also enjoy that he continues his duties as an act of coping and not faith. The fact that he treats his past congregation with the same Jewish dignity as if they were alive shows his internal morality, allowing you to see that he's a good person. There's also a mystery as to what really happened to his congregation and who put them in here. It's just a really interesting mystery, and I love that. So that's why I enjoy this location so much, and it's one of my favorites in the entire series. This next location I've already discussed in my 30 Days Without an Accident video, but I want to talk about it again briefly. The big spot is a grocery store our group plans to loot from. When they arrive, we see the front of the building was used as a refugee camp, but now it sits completely abandoned. When they get inside, the store is extremely clean and well supplied, but on top of the roof, there's another story. There are dozens of walkers on the roof alongside a crashed helicopter. I love everything about this place, the location, the story, and the raining walker sequence. This whole place is just a top 5 location for me in the main show, and it's one of the reasons why I wanted to make this video to begin with. Now, this next location is one that Dwight, Morgan, and Grace visit after hearing a radio call from a man named Charles. He says he was bitten by a walker when a herd entered the mall he was staying in.
He wasn't kidding, was he?
It's like before.
He asked the group to kill him before he turns, then bury him under the stars. We learned that this Charles guy took shelter in this mall, surviving off leftovers from the food court, and even turned the security office into his home. While waiting for our group to show up, he got ambushed by walkers and retreated to the roof.
Grace.
Chuck.
Scared he might not have time left, he wanted to die looking at the stars. After fighting off a lot of walkers, Morgan and Grace do end up finding him on the roof.
You came. You came.
You mind?
It's a cloudy night, so Charles can't see the stars, so Grace makes it possible.
How's that?
He dies happily, surrounded by friends, and Morgan and Grace bury him in the grass outside the mall. This one is super special for obvious reasons. I mean, it takes place in a mall, and that's just so cool to me. I really love seeing malls in the apocalypse. It's just a genre staple. I love the atmosphere created here with the dead roaming in the dark, and the shops abandoned but still full of supplies. It gets even better when the lights get turned on and we get to see this place closer to its former glory. It's hectic with all the walkers around, but it makes for a cool sequence, and I just love the lights and colors on display here. This place is a special one for me, and I always wish we had got to see a mall in the main show. It's a common thing amongst people to be fascinated with empty malls, and the psychology of it runs pretty deep. A place created to be bustling and full of life feels incredibly eerie when it's dark and empty. Add in walkers and you've got a truly eerie location. That is why I love this place, and I wish we got to spend more time here, but regardless, I'm glad they put it in the show, and it's a top 5 location for me in Fear the Walking Dead. Our next location shows up in the last season of the main show. Sebastian Milton forces Rosita and Daryl to go to a walker-swarmed house by covering themselves in walker guts to blend in. He tells them before the apocalypse, the house belonged to his friend Cooper and his wealthy father.
His dad was actually the president of SDS Bank.
Apparently, Cooper's father built a fortified panic room inside the house that contains a massive safe filled with cash. After being cut off by his mother, Sebastian begins blackmailing and forcing desperate citizens to infiltrate the walker-infested house to try to steal cash, but all have failed, sending over 30 to 40 people to their deaths. When Daryl and Rosita make their way inside, they fight through the walker-infested house, and in the end, successfully retrieve the money. Now first things first, you can add this to the long list of herds I've forgotten about in this show, because this shot makes it clear just how many walkers there truly are. Of course, the numbers are inflated tremendously by CGI, but I really love the look of this house, and I really love how eerie it is surrounded by the dead. That's truly the main reason it's even on the list. I hate Sebastian, and I don't like this season the most, but I do enjoy this scene for cosmetic reasons. It also reminds me of a classic zombie movie with the boarded up windows and walkers lurking around outside. It's just a cool spot personally, so I wanted to add it to the list. Next, we have a location scene in season 3 of Fear the Walking Dead. Alicia is out scavenging on her own when she comes across a restaurant named On The Go Burger. She heads inside, where it seems everything has been left as it was before the apocalypse. Trash from the establishment litters the tables, and a body can be seen in a booth, still holding food in his hand. Alicia finds the supplies she's looking for, and as she exits the kitchen, she kills a walker who must have been there since the start. As she turns to go outside, a group of walkers approach, so she hides inside the restaurant's ball pit, waiting for them to enter. Then, as we see the pit start to move, she's attacked by a walker hidden beneath the plastic balls. She fights off this zombified little girl, and afterwards a random survivor shows up, killing the walkers and taking her supplies. I really just enjoy the look of this place. It's super unique and very vibrant. The outside of the restaurant, with its colors and lack of decay, draws your eye immediately, but then you go inside and it tells a completely different story. I like the hidden chaos inside here too, the set design and the body in the booth, and a child walker in the ball pit all tell a story even if I can't entirely piece it together. I also love that we get to see outside of this location with the plaza she drives through and just the abandoned cars and the abandoned buildings behind her. I think that's really cool. This location is a top 5 for me in this show, and I just really love it. That's why I had to add it to the list. This next location is one that Daryl, Bob, Michonne, and Tyrese visit while on a run to find medical supplies for the prison. After their vehicle gets trapped by a herd, the group is forced on foot and eventually arrive at Big Tony's Express Mart. They need a vehicle and there's a van outside, but they need a battery, so they decide to hack through the limbs of a fallen tree to get inside. This releases the walkers trapped inside, and they surprise attack the group. After our group dispatches them, they enter the store, and this is when we get an unexpected story. At the beginning of the outbreak, the store owner Big Tony and his 3 co-workers chose to commit suicide together rather than face the apocalypse. They drank antifreeze in the back room and ended their lives.
Let's puke. Those douchebags in the vines took themselves out, holding hands, kumbaya style.
Before dying, they tied the exterior doors shut, so when they inevitably became walkers, they were trapped inside. While searching, Daryl is disgusted by the group's choice to commit and Bob defends them, and later finds a photo of the friends pre-apocalypse, and he says they probably wanted to go out as they lived, choosing to die together. Before they leave, Bob uses a screwdriver to put down Big Tony's zombified corpse out of respect. This is another location like the Sigurd family farm where we get to see the mental toll of the apocalypse, where some people choose to live in this world and some people choose to die. It's super morbid and it's sad, but at least they chose to die together. I really love this location for its environmental storytelling, and it's just really unique, so I had to add it to the list. This next location comes in the last season of the main show. Maggie tells her group about an abandoned suburban neighborhood, and they decide to use it as a rendezvous point to regroup, as well as leading a mission here to retrieve essential goods for Alexandria. This neighborhood was initially set up by Maggie and Georgie to act as an emergency supply cache in case a primary settlement were to fall. This neighborhood is one of many supply caches, and hidden within these houses are backed up stocks of food, ammunition, and weapons. This place serves as Alexandria's final hope for survival during their severe resource crisis, as well as concealing the Alexandrians from the threat of the Reapers. Look, if I had known about this location when I made my video on neighborhoods in The Walking Dead, it would have 100% made the list. I absolutely love the look of this abandoned suburban neighborhood and the overgrown nature of it. This one in particular is very fascinating to look at. The neighborhoods I've discussed already were shown much earlier into the show, so they don't have this level of growth yet. That's what makes this one stand out so much and makes it very compelling to look at. Also, hearing that Maggie and Georgie set up this neighborhood together as an outpost reminded me that she even existed. So yeah, I love the entire look of this set piece, and that's mostly why it made the list. The next location we got is the Barbecue Shack. We see this restaurant after the governor's assault on the prison. Rick and Carl are on their own and come across this abandoned restaurant. Carl and Rick clear the restaurant and later find a walker barricaded in a room with a note left nearby. We learn this place was run by a man named Joe Sr. and his son Joe Jr. When Joe Sr. died at the start of the apocalypse, Joe Jr. says he couldn't bring himself to kill his reanimated father, so instead of killing him, Joe trapped him and left a note for future survivors that read, "Please do what I couldn't." Rick ends up putting down Joe Sr. and fulfilling his son's last wishes. It's a brief scene, but it's a unique location with a unique story. You'd think we see more of this kind of dilemma when people are faced with an impossible decision, but we really don't. Usually when someone they love turns, our characters end it for them, or the bitten person ends it themselves. There's only a few moments where we see people unable to in the show, including this one, so this situation really stands out for that reason. It's a very nice moment of environmental storytelling in a very hectic part of the show, so that's why it made the list. Now, our next location is one we've actually covered before. I talked about it briefly in my video on herds and Fear the Walking Dead. We come across this hospital when Morgan and his group of survivors seek shelter inside to escape a herd. We spend multiple episodes here, and I'm really glad we do. We get some really great scenes and shots in this episode. I also found out that this building in real life was completely empty and waiting to be torn down, so the filming crew had free reign to use this hospital. You can really tell the difference when shows have this kind of freedom. It allows you to use all of your environment with no corners cut, and you truly feel it here.
How are we looking?
We get to see so much of this hospital that it feels like we're alongside the characters exploring it too. Also, seeing the dead roam through the dark halls of this dilapidated hospital feels like a rite of passage trope for zombie media. I mean, it's literally where the main show begins. I enjoy seeing the city of Austin too in the background. I think that's very cool. We get to see the details of destroyed buildings in the distance, as well as the destroyed Texas Capitol building, and that right there is the cherry on top. I really love this hospital as a set piece, and it's gotta be a top 10 location in the entire Walking Dead universe. So that's why it made the list. Now for this next one, I talked about this location briefly in my self-help video, but it's a cool spot, so I wanted to officially add it to the list. After spending the night in the bookstore, Glenn, Abraham, Rosita, Maggie, Tara, and Eugene get together to discuss their next move. Tara says to leave, they need to find a vehicle, and Abraham says he knows exactly where they can find the right one.
It's got 500 gallons of water on it.
They leave the library and make their way across the street to an abandoned firehouse. Soon after arriving at the station, we see walkers make their way out of the building and swarm our group. That's when Eugene uses the hose off the truck to tear through the walkers in a very cool scene. We don't get a detailed explanation on what really happened here, but there are a lot of walkers trapped inside. We even see that tires and the fire truck itself were used as a barricade to keep them inside, because when Abraham moves it, that's when they're freed. After the fight, we even see this sign indicating that someone trapped them here on purpose. Abraham even mentions this truck must have been used for crowd clearing because of all the blood and guts on it.
This thing's done some crowd clearing. Right up into the intake. There's
Means we got an air filter filled with damn human remains.
It's not a lot to go on, but there is a story here. A civilian or a fireman used this truck to smash through walkers and eventually barricaded some inside. Maybe they knew them, or maybe they didn't. Either way, it's interesting, and I love piecing stories like this together. I don't want to know all the answers because I love the mystery of it. This is a favorite just from all the Left Behind questions alone, so that's why it's on the list.
Shit is screwed up!
This next one is a smaller location from Fear the Walking Dead that I enjoy a lot. We see Daniel and Charlie travel to a local store to scavenge for supplies. When they look through the front window, they see the store is full of walkers and a machine gun sits mounted on top of the counter as a trap for anyone who opens the door. Daniel and Charlie go around back to sneak in, but the walkers see Daniel's cat outside, causing them to all gather at the windows and set off the mounted machine gun. This causes the store windows to break and release the trapped walkers. Daniel and Charlie are forced to abandon their supply run and flee as we see a herd begin to form from the trapped walkers and other walkers in the area who were attracted by the gunfire. This is a quick location that doesn't really hold a story, but I really enjoy it for the look. Also, in these shots, you get a good view of the surrounding area, and it looks just as abandoned as the store. I love seeing the background a lot in settings like this because it really fills out the environment. I especially love the herd that forms later, and the fact that we can see walkers in the background as they're attracted by the sound of gunfire is just the cherry on top. These might sound like small things, but this is what I truly like to see in this world, and this is why set design is just so important. This next location comes in the last season of the main show. These dilapidated buildings serve as a military training ground known as the kill houses. Most of these buildings are walker infested, so individuals who commit offenses against the Commonwealth's laws are sent here to physically clear out the dead and pile up the bodies as hard labor. Nothing significant happens here, but I find these abandoned houses so fascinating to look at. It's the same appeal for me as an empty suburban neighborhood that I've talked about at length already. A fun fact I learned while making this video is that these buildings were originally constructed in 1951. The entire complex was a federally funded public housing community that's set entirely vacant for decades. So its decaying brick facade acts as the perfect post-apocalyptic setting in this universe because it required no work for set designers. Also, I love that it remains forgotten in the real world and in the post-apocalypse. I find that all super fascinating and kinda sad at the same time. Now, real quick, just for fun, we're going to look at some very minor locations with very limited screen time that I really just enjoy looking at. I guess we could say that these are honorary mentions. The first one we got is a medical clinic shown in the webisode The Oath. I just enjoy the area and the fact that it's overrun so early in the apocalypse. It tells me a lot of people came here wanting medical supplies and things went very wrong. Next we have this street that Beta walks through with Rufus after the death of Alpha. I really love the set design here and all of the dilapidated buildings and boarded up storefronts. I love the details like the decaying car, the debris covered asphalt, and the street lamps that are still standing. And last but not least, the magnificent Grand Motel. I even enjoy seeing the inside of the hotel with all its dust and debris. There's some story of someone surviving here that we don't see much of, but we do get some of Beta's story when we see his half moon poster for the first time. This whole scene is very brief, but I find it all so cool. I love seeing more of the world surrounding our characters, and these little deserted towns are my favorite example of that. Real quick, I wanted to say while making this video, I realized that this street is the same street seen in the episode where Ezekiel gets the projector bowl. And that movie theater was even featured in the last locations video. You can see the Grand Hotel Beta goes to in the background here, and I don't know if anyone's ever seen this, but I found it so cool. There's almost a whole season between these two episodes, so the fact that we see this street twice just blew my mind. And our last honorary mention is a location Maggie visits in the last season of the main show. The location we see is called Wellhaven Plaza. It's a dark and decaying indoor shopping mall that was set up as an emergency rendezvous point for the group. I wanted to add it to the list just for this shot alone. I love it so much. The rusted cars and the overgrown parking lot are just so cool to look at. I love this bus over here and all the decaying on the outside of the mall, like the broken glass above the entrance and the collapsed roof over here. This whole shot really puts you in the atmosphere of the apocalypse. Plus, this is the only mall we get to see in the main show, so it's got to be on the list. And with that, I think we were finished. That is now part 2 of my location series, and hopefully you enjoyed this just as much as I have. I just keep enjoying this as I keep making them, and I really enjoyed searching and finding some that I had forgotten about. And maybe I even reminded you of some of these places. Like I said in my last video, if one of your favorites wasn't in this one, then maybe it's in another video. But anyways, just thank you for being here and watching part 2. It means so much to me. I hope to see you guys soon, and yeah, peace.